brought to you by Big J's Beans, the logger's choice. They're even good cold.
Big John, Big John, Big Bad.
Hey folks, Logger John here, and it's Mother's Day, and it's a cold Mother's Day. It's windy. We probably have a wind chill of, I don't know, -5 right now. Cloudy. We had some snow yesterday. Anyways, it is Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day to everybody out there, all the mothers. My mom's in a nursing home, and I haven't been able to see her in about 3 months, but I do talk to her on the phone, and she's doing well. She's safe, so that's the main thing. So today, I'm starting something a little different. Still going to be Logger John. Still going to be called Logger John, and still going to have logging videos, wood cutting videos, tractor videos, all that kind of stuff. So don't worry. I'm not going to stop doing that. My wood season is pretty much come to an end as far as cutting wood and splitting wood. So I thought I would just try something a little different, and this is going to be called Woodshed Ramblings with Logger John. And I'm just going to sit here in the woodshed and talk about everything, anything, everything, whatever we want to talk about, whatever topic I pick. You guys can even pick the topics and just leave in the comments down below something you want to talk about. I'm going to plan on maybe doing a little bit more, fixing up the woodshed a little bit more. Right now, it's just a woodshed. There's a pile of wood behind me. And I actually put some wood in this morning, a couple wheelbarrow loads, because I only had a little bit left. And it's going to be cool the rest of the week, I guess, so I put some wood in. So yeah, so today on Woodshed Ramblings with Logger John, I'm just going to have a question and answer session. And I have some questions that I made up, and I'm going to try to answer them. And what I don't know, I'll just make up. So that's what it's going to be. Normally I was gearing up for a busy summer, making some YouTube videos. I usually go to tractor shows, tractor pulls. Antique tractor shows, all that kind of stuff, but most of that is not going to probably happen this summer because of the coronavirus. So everything is kind of canceled so far. So that's kind of a bummer. So that's why I'm kind of starting this part of the channel. So yeah, so stay tuned for some questions. So the first question I have is, what does Logger John like to eat? What's his favorite food? Well, I like different kinds of food. I'll tell you right off the bat, I'm not a spicy person. I do not like spicy hot food. But my favorite food would have to be an old-fashioned pork chop and bean supper. I love pork chops. So a pork chop supper with potatoes, baked, fried. Doesn't matter how the potatoes are done. French fries. Nice pork chop done up, and gotta have beans on the side, and some vegetables. Turnips. I love turnips, or rutabagas we call them. That's what I like. And some maybe homemade bread on the side. And yeah, that's what I like. And I'm probably going to gross a few people out here, but I do like my shake and bake on my pork chops. You can buy different kinds of shake and bake for chicken, for pork, and I like that on there. Or make my own sauce or whatever, put on the pork chop. So that was my favorite, that's my favorite meal pretty much. And as far as dessert, most kinds of pie. I like most kinds of pie. On the farm, actually, believe it or not, I grew up on a beef farm, and we actually didn't eat a lot of beef. It was kind of weird. My dad was a pork man. He loved pork. We raised pigs too, and chickens and hens and all that kind of stuff, but we never really ate a lot of beef. I don't mind a good steak, but I prefer a pork chop. So my dad, yeah, that's what he liked, and I guess that's where maybe I get it from. A really nice pork chop. That's my favorite meal. Next question is, what's your Logger John's favorite hobby, or what does he do for a hobby? I like to do lots of things. I guess you could say cutting wood is kind of a hobby, because I really enjoy it. But real hobby, other than making YouTube videos, which I enjoy, I do collect toys, farm toys, and construction toys, antique, and stuff like that. Tonka trucks, Tonka equipment. I do have some videos on YouTube of my toy collection. That's one of my hobbies, is collecting toys. And I really like actually anything old. Maybe some of you guys checked out my wall of tools. I have a video way back on my outside my woodshed here. There's some tools hanging up, antique tools. I like anything old. I like the history of it, and there's always a story behind all that stuff, which I enjoy. Both my mom and dad enjoyed antiques. They that was their hobby, going to antique shows and auction sales and getting old stuff, and they filled up their barn with antiques, and their house, their basement was all full of antique stuff. A lot of people think, it's junk maybe, but they enjoyed doing it. So I think that's where I inherited that from. So far I've inherited pork chops and antiques and cutting wood. But my main hobby, like I say, is collecting toys. So any old antique toys. I haven't got anything in a while because everything's closed up. All the flea market. We have a beautiful flea market in the little town near me here. It's been closed because of the corona, and it's always full of some neat stuff. Maybe when this corona's over, I'll do a video of the antique store, the flea market. And yeah, so that's my hobbies. Why do I like cutting wood? Well, that is a big question. Why do I like cutting wood? Well, I don't know what the right answer. I just love cutting wood. I don't find it work. I just love doing it. I love the chainsaw in my hands. I feel alive when I'm cutting wood. I just like everything about it. I like skidding out wood, cutting wood, splitting wood, piling wood. I grew up with my dad on the farm, and when we weren't farming, we were logging and cutting wood. So that's what I did with him, and I just enjoy it. It's kind of hard to explain. Anybody that cuts wood or cuts logs and enjoys it knows what I'm talking about. I could do it every day. I just like a good challenge. I like cutting trees down that are dangerous and dead, and they offer me a bit of a challenge to do that. So yeah, it's kind of a passion I have, is cutting wood, and I like sharing it with you guys. So I guess the quick answer is, why do I like cutting wood? It's just makes me feel alive. I just love doing it. So there's no real answer, I guess, but yeah. What's my favorite memory of cutting wood? Well, that's a pretty easy one. My favorite memory of cutting wood is cutting wood with my dad. Growing up on the farm, that was probably my best memory. My dad passed away in '98, so he's been gone a while. And that's my favorite memory. My second favorite memory, well, it's not really my second, they're kind of combined, would be cutting wood with my son, having my son come out and hang out with me. So he can't always come out and cut with me because he's working or gone away, and so when he comes out, it's a real pleasure. It doesn't even matter if everything that day went sideways. If my son's with me, it's just awesome. Just hanging out, having some pretty deep conversations sometimes, him and I in the bush, and we're having a break. And did the same thing with my dad. My dad wasn't highly educated. He didn't even have high school. He was a farmer, a logger. But at break time, we'd have breaks in the bush or have lunch with us, sit on a stump on a nice winter day and just talk about stuff. You know, for someone that didn't have much of an education, he was a smart man. He had, you know, he told me some things back then that are actually coming true now. Different things in the world he thought was going to happen. But that's another conversation, I guess, for another time. But some of my best memories, yeah. Hanging out with my dad and now hanging out with my son. And yeah. So, my least favorite memory of cutting wood, well, I don't know if I have a least favorite memory. I've had some close calls over the years. I laugh about them now, but at the time they weren't that funny. But growing up on a farm, we had a lot of big, huge elm trees, like massive. These things were like 3 feet across or more on the stump. Some of them bigger. When they died, they had the Dutch elm disease, and they were all around the hay fields and stuff. And guess what? So we decided my dad would cut them, and where would you think they would land? In the hay fields. So my brother and I and my dad, you cut a dead elm in the hay field. Well, it just explodes everywhere. There's limbs all over the place. So we had to clean all that up. And my dad was just, you know, you had to have every little twig and piece of bark out of the hayfield. Because of course you didn't want it going through the baler or the hay equipment and damaging it. So we had to pick up every little twig, and I just hated that. And I don't think anybody liked doing it. It would add hours onto a job that shouldn't even take that long, because you had to have every piece picked up and thrown off the side of the field. And I try to avoid cutting wood in the hayfield. I just try to avoid it like the plague. I don't do that much cutting around the hayfields, and if I do, sometimes it's green wood, so there's not as much debris, but it's still a pain in the butt cleaning it all up. I think I lucked out this year. I didn't really cut too much around the hayfield. I did cut a little bit around the pastures, dead elms that I cleaned up. But you don't have to clean it up as much as, you know, in a hayfield, but I still clean it up. So that's my least favorite memory, probably, is like doing that. Was cleaning up all the dead branches from the trees in the hayfield, right? So, and I guess there's a few other bad memories or least favorite memories. Like I say, I've had some close calls over the years. I've had, you know, I'm not expert at cutting trees. You watch some of my videos. I mean, most of the trees fall the right way. It's a great day. Everything turns out. Well, that's on the video. There's lots of trees that go sideways, get hung up, go backwards, don't go the right way. So yeah, I've had tops break off trees. I had one a couple of years ago. I was cutting it. I think it was a dead ash. It was hollow and rotten, and it went against another tree, and for some reason I knew it was happening. I didn't even see at first what was happening, but I just felt something was going on. When that tree came down, I took off the other way, I got out of there, the tree, the top of the ash broke off and came back. It was rotten. It basically it exploded on me. Pretty much landed where I was like a few seconds before. So things like that. Kind of, but that's just part of cutting wood, right? But you got to be safe. But least favorite memory, picking up sticks in the hayfield. Yeah. Okay, the next question is kind of a strange one. Doesn't have anything to do with firewood or anything like that, or tractors. Does Logger John believe in aliens? That's kind of a weird question, but okay, do I believe in aliens? Well, right off the bat, I'm going to say I'm kind of sitting on the fence with that one. It's kind of a timely question because a few weeks ago, the U.S. Pentagon released some UFO footage that was taken by some of their Air Force. I did watch the footage. It's interesting. You can check it out on YouTube. The Pentagon admits they don't know what it is, what it was. Anyways, you know, there's a lot of, I guess the quick answer would be, why not? Why isn't there aliens? So I guess you'd have to convince me that there's not aliens. I have a pretty open mind about stuff like that. I look at it this way: there's been thousands and thousands of people from all over the world are saying they've seen UFOs. There's people say they've been abducted by aliens. I'm not sure about that part. You got the Roswell incident. You can look that up on YouTube. There's a lot of documentation about that, and there's a lot of documents I've watched, or documentaries. I've watched most of them. I've read about them. There's some pretty interesting things going on. So, are all these people lying? Like, there's, you know, thousands and thousands of people saying they've saw UFOs, they've encountered aliens. I've heard some of the interviews they've had with some of the Roswell people back from the 50s, and I think that happened in the 50s. I think Roswell is a place in New Mexico. It's like an Air Force base, I think, or Army base or something. Supposedly a bunch of UFOs crashed there, and they recovered the bodies from the, you know, the alien bodies. And there's people that they interviewed after, some of the people that were there and actually saw it. Are these people lying? Are they making up stuff? Like, what do they have to gain for it? Like, nothing. So, and another thing, there's thousands and thousands of planets, like, out there. Maybe even millions of stars. Like, there's millions of stars, right? And most of these stars have planets going around them. And there's literally thousands of other galaxies. So I think you're kind of naive to believe that there's nothing out there. It would be strange if there wasn't. It might not be life forms like we know it. It could be like the simplest life forms, you know, one cell kind of thing. Or it could be advanced life forms that are 100 times more advanced than we are. Maybe there's somebody out there right now making logging videos on another planet. Maybe their arms are chainsaws. So instead of having arms, they have chainsaws for arms, and they can cut up wood really fast and cut down trees. Maybe their trees are like 2,000 feet tall. I don't know. It's an interesting question, and it's been kind of a question that man has been pondering for years. Is there aliens or other life forms out there? Why not? I mean, these people say, well, no one's ever, you know, you don't believe in it. If they can't see it, they don't believe in it, right? Well, there's hundreds of millions of Christians out there too that believe in God, and they've never seen God. So, aliens, sure, why not? like I say, I'm sitting on the fence with that question. You guys let me know what you guys think. It'd be interesting, you know. If we did find aliens or another planet with life on it, it would certainly be life-changing thing to know that, right? Like, I don't know, I'm not sure the right words, but it would be just, it would change the whole perspective of your life, right? If there's other aliens out there on another planet somewhere. So that's my quickest answer I can give you. So that was some of the questions I answered. There's going to be more questions. If you guys have questions for Logger John, just leave them in the comments. And you know, like I say, if you want to have a topic we can pick. This saw here, if you're wondering, this was my dad's saw. He bought it brand new. It's a Pioneer. It's a 1150 Pioneer. He bought it new, I believe, in the late 60s, early 70s. I'm not sure the year of it. And it runs. It needs a bit of work. I do have it running in one of my videos way back, like a long time ago. I can't even think of the name of the video, but you can check it out. I do have it running, cutting a bit of wood with it. It's really heavy. So if you're wondering where that is, that's my dad's saw that I inherited from him. And this back here, I don't know if you see it, I'm going to go get it. We got this little guy here. It's made out of cans, soup cans, sardine cans, and everything. And my mom gave me that many years ago on one of my birthdays. She had somebody was making these, and she got a bunch of them. So I hung it up there on Mother's Day just to remind me of my mom. It's kind of pretty cool. I don't really have a name for it. It's kind of like the Tin Man off the Wizard of Oz, I guess. So anyways, I'm glad you guys could join me in the woodshed here. Hopefully the weather warms up and I'm going to spruce this up a little bit better. So thanks a lot, guys, for watching, and we'll see you soon. Take care.